It's 11:23 on a Thursday night, and Jason is sitting in his car in the driveway. Not because he just got home. He got home 20 minutes ago. He's just sitting there with the engine off, phone in hand, staring at his banking app like it owes him an explanation. 6 months ago, Jason got the raise. The real one. The one he'd been working toward for 3 years. His title changed. His salary went from $67,000 to $89,000. His mom cried a little on the phone. His wife took him to the nice dinner. His coworker who got passed over stopped making eye contact in the hallway. The raise arrived, and Jason waited for his life to feel different. It doesn't. The checking account looks almost identical to how it looked at $67,000. The credit card balance is actually slightly higher. The vacation they were going to take is still just a Pinterest board his wife updates on Sunday nights. And Jason is sitting in his driveway at 11:23 p.m. doing the math again. Not because something went wrong, because nothing went right, and he cannot figure out why. My name is Nick, not a financial advisor, just someone who got tired of watching smart people earn more and end up with less. Hit subscribe. Let's find out exactly where Jason's $22,000 raise actually went. Here's the thing nobody tells you at the salary negotiation. The number they write on the offer letter is not your salary. It is a starting point for a series of extractions that happen before a single dollar ever touches your life. And the gap between the number on that letter and the number you actually control is so large and so systematically ignored that most people spend their entire careers confused about why the math never adds up. They think the problem is discipline. They think the problem is spending. They think the problem is that they just need a little more. They don't need more. They need to understand what's already happening to what they have. Before I show you where the money goes, I need you to know this. A study by Northwestern Mutual found that the average American spends 26 years of their working life confused about why they can't get ahead financially. 26 years. Not because they were bad with money, because nobody showed them the actual math on what they were earning. That changes right now. So let's start at the beginning. Jason makes $89,000 a year. That sounds like $7,417 a month. Here is what I want you to do right now. Before I give you Jason's real number, I want you to guess yours. Take your salary, divide by 12, and write that number down or just hold it in your head. That is what most people think they earn every month. That is the number people spend against. That is the number people build their lives around. And in about 45 seconds, I am going to show you that number is a fiction. A well-intentioned, HR-approved, offer letter certified fiction. Ready. Here's what Jason's $7,417 actually is. Federal income tax at his bracket takes roughly $12,200 a year. State income tax, Jason lives in a state with a 5% rate, pulls another $4,450. Social Security and Medicare, FICA, takes 7.65% off the gross, another $6,809. His employer offers a 401k match up to 4%, and Jason, to his credit, contributes enough to get the full match. That's $3,560 a year going in pre-tax, which lowers his taxable income slightly but still leaves his paycheck. Health insurance premiums. His employer covers part of it, but Jason's share runs $4,800 a year for the family plan. By the time the direct deposit hits, Jason's $89,000 salary produces approximately $4,890 a month in actual take-home pay. Not $7,417, $4,890. He earns $89,000 and he controls $58,680. The government, the insurance company, and the retirement account processor all got paid first, and none of them sent a thank you card. Pause for 1 second. What is your number? Not the offer letter, the deposit. Because if you have never sat down and calculated the real gap between what you earn and what you control, you have been budgeting against a number that does not exist. And that single mistake is costing most people more than any bad investment ever will. That gap, $89,000 down to $58,680, is the first place the raise disappears. And here's what makes it genuinely maddening. When Jason got the raise from $67,000 to $89,000, he saw a $22,000 increase on paper. His actual take-home increase after the same deductions was closer to $13,200 a year, $1,100 a month. Not because anyone cheated him, because the raise pushed him into a higher federal bracket, increased his FICA contribution, nudged his health insurance tier, and slightly increased his 401k contribution amount. The system taxed the raise before Jason ever saw it. He got a $22,000 raise and walked away with $1,100 a month, which he has now somehow already spent. So where did it go? This is the part I want you to feel before I explain it, because it is not a character flaw. It is a mechanical process with a name. Economists call it lifestyle creep. I call it the raise tax, because it functions exactly like a tax. It is automatic. It is nearly invisible, and it takes a predictable percentage of every income increase before you consciously decide to spend a single dollar. And here is the part that should genuinely bother you. The raise tax is regressive. It hits harder the more you earn. A person who goes from $40,000 to $50,000 loses roughly 60 cents of every new dollar to lifestyle creep within a year. A person who goes from $80,000 to $100,000 loses closer to 78 cents. The more you earn, the more efficiently the system consumes the increase. Nobody designed it that way. Nobody had to. Here is how it works. The month the raise hit, Jason and his wife went to the nice dinner. Reasonable. The next month, they started ordering from the nicer grocery store because they'd been meaning to make that switch and now felt like the right time. Also reasonable. Jason upgraded his gym membership from the basic tier to the one with the classes because he'd been wanting to go more consistently, and a better gym would help with that. His wife signed them up for the streaming service they'd been sharing a password on because it finally felt a little embarrassing to still be doing that. Jason's commute had been bothering him, so he started using the parking garage near his office instead of the free lot 6 blocks away. It's $180 a month, but he saves 20 minutes a day, and his time is worth something now. He got a slightly nicer work bag because his old one was falling apart, and his title change meant more client meetings. They started getting the house cleaned twice a month instead of once because both of them are tired and they earned this. Not one of those decisions is outrageous. Not one of them would make a financial advisor slam their fist on the table. But add them up, and you are looking at approximately $800 to $1,100 a month in new recurring spending that appeared silently, automatically, and permanently in response to the raise arriving. Jason's $1,100 monthly take-home increase from the raise was fully absorbed by the lifestyle upgrade within 90 days. The raise is gone. The upgrade stayed. This is not Jason's fault. This is physics. Spending expands to fill available income the same way gas expands to fill available space. It is not a willpower problem. It is a design problem. And nobody redesigned anything when the raise arrived. The money just found its level. Here is a number from a TIAA Institute study that I cannot stop thinking about. They tracked households for 5 years after a significant income increase. 68% of them reported feeling no meaningful improvement in financial security, despite earning substantially more. 68%, more money, same anxiety, same driveway math. Different number on the offer letter, identical feeling at 11:23 p.m. Now let me show you something that should make you genuinely uncomfortable. Because the lifestyle creep number I just gave you, $800 to $1,100 a month, that is just the visible layer. The part you can see if you squint at your bank statement long enough. There is a second layer underneath it that is harder to find and more expensive, and it has nothing to do with anything Jason consciously chose to buy. Researchers at the University of Chicago ran a study tracking spending behavior in households that received income increases over a 5-year period. They found that for every dollar of income increase, households spent an average of 72 cents within 12 months. Not 20 cents, not 40 cents. 72 cents of every new dollar was consumed by spending increases within the first year. And here is the part that stopped me cold. Only about half of that spending was traceable to identifiable purchases. The other half, roughly 36 cents of every new dollar, disappeared into what the researchers called ambient spending inflation, slightly more expensive versions of things you were already buying. The $4 coffee instead of the $3 coffee, the Uber instead of the bus because you're tired and you earned it, the extra items in the cart because the cart is already full and what's another $12? None of it is a decision, all of it is a leak. And the leak scales perfectly with income. Make more, leak more, feel the same. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. When was the last time you got a raise and did not upgrade something within 90 days? Not a car, not a vacation, just something, anything. The grocery store, the gym, the coffee. If you are struggling to remember a raise that did not come with an upgrade, you have already been paying the raise tax. You just did not know it had a name. This is why the Goldman Sachs survey I keep coming back to found that 40% of Americans earning over $300,000 a year describe themselves as living paycheck to paycheck, not 4%, not 14%, 40%. The salary is not the solution to a system problem. The system is the solution to a system problem. But here is where it gets specific, because lifestyle creep is only half the story. The other half is something researchers call social liquidity pressure, and it operates completely below the level of conscious decision-making. Jason got promoted, his peer group updated. The coworkers he now spends time with, the ones at his new title level, have slightly different baseline habits. They get lunch instead of packing it. They do the golf outing. They go to the work happy hour at the place with the $16 cocktails instead of the $6 beers. They mention the weekend trip casually the way you mention the weather. And Jason is not being forced to participate. Nobody handed him a rule book. But there is a social tax on belonging to a peer group, and that tax is calibrated to the spending level of the group. Quietly, automatically, and without a single uncomfortable conversation, Jason's spending floor rose to match the room. The Princeton study found that social spending norms within peer groups account for up to 30% of lifestyle creep following an income increase, meaning nearly a third of every raise gets spent on maintaining social belonging rather than conscious personal choice. You didn't choose to spend it. The room spent it for you. And here is the thing about the room that nobody tells you. The room is not trying to make you broke. The room does not know it is making you broke. Your coworkers are not a conspiracy. They're just people who normalized a spending level and are operating inside it without thinking. The problem is that normal is expensive. And the moment you get promoted into a more expensive normal, the math quietly changes on you without anyone announcing it. Here is a number I want you to hold on to for the next few minutes. $940. That is the total monthly spending increase Jason can identify when he finally sits down and goes line by line through his bank statements 6 months after the raise. $940 a month in new, recurring, and semi-recurring expenses that arrive with the raise felt individually reasonable and collectively consumed the entire take-home increase. $940 a month at 7% annual return over 30 years is $1,135,000. I'm going to say that again because it does not feel real the first time. The lifestyle upgrade that felt like a reasonable reward for earning more did not cost Jason $940 a month. It cost him $1.1 million. That is the actual price tag of the parking garage and the nicer grocery store and the gym upgrade and the house cleaning, not $11,280 a year, $1,100,000. That is what compound interest does to a leak, not because any single decision was wrong, because the accumulation of reasonable decisions inside a system with no intentional design produces an unreasonable outcome. The upgrade felt like the reward. The compounding that never happened was the real cost. And nobody sent Jason a bill for it because the bill arrives 30 years from now in the form of a retirement account that should be larger than it is. Now, I want to introduce you to someone. Before I tell you about Sarah, I need to tell you what she is not. She is not a finance influencer. She is not a frugality extremist who makes her own laundry detergent and tracks every dollar in a color-coded spreadsheet. She is not someone who got lucky with a stock or inherited something or married into money. Sarah is the most boring financial success story I know. And I mean that as the highest possible compliment. Because boring is the only strategy that actually works at scale, and almost nobody is willing to talk about it because there is nothing to sell inside it. Same city as Jason. Same year in her career. Her name is Sarah, and she makes $84,000, $5,000 less than Jason. Her take-home after identical deductions is roughly $4,650 a month, $240 less than Jason every single month. By every conventional measure, Sarah is behind Jason. Smaller salary, smaller paycheck, less room to work with. Here's the part I want you to notice. Sarah does not feel rich. She does not feel like she has cracked a code. She drives a 2019 Honda CR-V with 74,000 miles on it. She has not been to Europe. Her apartment has one piece of furniture she genuinely loves, and two pieces she bought off Facebook Marketplace in 2021 and keeps meaning to replace. She is not performing financial wellness. She is just running a slightly different system. And the difference between her system and Jason's system over 30 years is the difference between retiring at 61 with $857,000 and retiring at 67 with a question mark. Sarah does one thing differently. The day her direct deposit hits, before she pays a single bill, $500 moves automatically to a brokerage account invested in a total market index fund. Another $200 moves to a high-yield savings account she has named very specifically Do Not Touch. Her checking account never sees that $700. It does not exist as far as her spending brain is concerned. The rest flows normally. Rent, car, groceries, utilities, life. Sarah does not budget obsessively. She does not track every coffee. She does not feel deprived. She just automated the gap before the lifestyle could close it. Here is the question I want you sitting with right now. If $700 a month moved automatically before your checking account ever saw it, would your life feel different? Be honest. Would you actually notice? Or would your spending just find its level around the new number the way it always does? Because that answer is the entire game. If you would not notice, you already have the money. You just have not moved it yet. At $700 a month from age 31 at a 7% average annual return, here's what happens. Year 10, Sarah has $121,000. Year 20, she has $364,000. Year 25, she has $567,000. Year 30, she has $857,000. On $84,000 a year, with no inheritance, no side hustle, no stock picks, no dramatic sacrifice, just $700 a month moved before the lifestyle could vote on it. Now run Jason's numbers. Jason earns $5,000 more per year than Sarah. Jason has $940 a month more in lifestyle spending than he did before the raise. Jason has automated zero. At age 61, Jason has whatever survived the system he never designed. which, based on the average American, his age, who followed the same default path, is somewhere around $115,000 in retirement savings. Sarah has $857,000. They started in the same city at the same career stage. The variable was not income. The variable was the order of operations and the automation of the gap. Here is the thing that should end every conversation about needing a higher salary before you start investing. Sarah made less than Jason for 30 years. Sarah will retire with 7 times more than Jason. The income gap worked against her the entire time. She won anyway, not because she was smarter, because she moved the money before the lifestyle could find it. That is the entire secret. It fits in one sentence. There is no course to buy. There is no advisor to hire. Move the money first. Here is the math that should end the salary conversation permanently. If you take the average new car payment in America right now, $772 a month, and instead of making that payment, you invest it from age 25 to 65 at historical stock market returns, you end up with over $6 million. $6 million. That is the exact dollar amount of the difference between the person upgrading their car every 4 years and the person driving the paid-off Camry. Same salary, different system. One of them is performing wealth. The other one is building it. So here's what Jason does. And here's what you do. Because the driveway math is the same math regardless of the address. I want to be clear about something before I give you these 3 moves. This is not a 4-7-step financial overhaul. This is not a budget. This is not a lifestyle audit that requires a weekend and a color-coded spreadsheet. This is 3 things that take a combined total of about 45 minutes to set up once and then run without you forever. The reason most people do not do them is not that they are hard. It is that they are so simple they do not feel like enough. They feel like they should be harder. They are not. Simple is the point. Complexity is what the financial industry sells. Simple is what actually works. Move 1. This week, not next month. This week, sit down and calculate your real number. Not gross salary, not what you tell people. Your actual monthly take-home after every deduction. Then subtract every fixed obligation. Rent or mortgage, car payments, insurance premiums, minimum debt payments, utilities, phone, the non-negotiables. What is left is your discretionary income. The first time most people run this number, it lands somewhere between alarming and humiliating. Run it anyway. You cannot design a system around a number you have been actively avoiding. A salary finance study found that 32% of workers earning 6 figures have never calculated their actual monthly take-home pay. Not approximately. Never. They have been building financial lives on a number they have literally never verified. And the bank is not going to correct them. The bank profits from the confusion. Move 2. Before this pay period ends, automate the gap. Take 15 to 20% of your actual take-home, not your gross, your take-home, and move it automatically on payday to accounts your checking account cannot see easily. A brokerage account for long-term compounding, a high-yield savings account for the intermediate goals. Give both accounts names that mean something to you. Future Jason, the number that changes everything. Whatever makes it real. Then make the transfers automatic. The automation is the entire mechanism, not the amount, not the account. The automation. A forced transfer of $200 that happens without your involvement. Every payday beats a disciplined decision to invest $500 that requires your willpower every single month. Willpower is a depleting resource. Automation is not. And here is the counterintuitive part about the amount. Start with whatever number feels slightly too low, not comfortable, slightly too low, because the goal of the first 90 days is not optimization. It is proof of concept. You are training your spending to find its level around a smaller number. Once it does, you increase the transfer. The psychology of starting too small and increasing beats, starting ambitious and stopping every single time. The financial industry will never tell you to start small because they cannot charge a management fee on small. Start small, automate it, increase it in 90 days. Move 3. Once a quarter, 30 minutes, audit every recurring charge on every account, every subscription, every membership, every auto-renewing anything, not to eliminate joy. not to become the person who tracks every dollar with a spreadsheet and brings their own snacks to the movie theater. Just to make sure every dollar leaving your account on autopilot is leaving with your current conscious permission. The average American thinks they spend $86 a month on subscriptions. The real number is $219. That $133 monthly blind spot is $1,596 a year. Over 25 years at 7%, that is $106,000 that evaporated into streaming services you forgot you had and gym memberships you stopped using in February. The quarterly audit is not about frugality. It is about intentionality. There is a difference between choosing to spend money and forgetting you are spending money. One of those is a decision. The other is a leak. Plug the leaks. Quick question before we get to the social tax. How many subscriptions do you think you have right now? Not streaming? All of them. Apps, memberships, software, boxes, clubs, auto-renewing, anything. Hold that number. Now go check. I will wait. Because 42% of people find at least one subscription they completely forgot about during that check. And the average forgotten subscription has been running for 14 months before anyone notices. That is not a small leak. That is a deliberate structural drain. And then there is the social tax audit, which is harder but more important. Once a month, look at your discretionary spending and ask one question. How much of this did I actually choose versus how much did I spend because the room expected it? The dinner you didn't want to go to but went anyway because everyone was going. The round of drinks you bought because it was your turn, and that is just what you do. The upgraded version of the thing you would have been perfectly happy with and the cheaper version if nobody was watching. You do not have to answer the question dramatically. You just have to ask it, because the room will keep setting your budget for you until you decide to set it yourself. The room does not care about your retirement. The room cares about the room. Now let's go back to Jason. It is 11:51 p.m. He has been in the driveway for almost 30 minutes, but something shifted in the last few minutes. He is not staring at the balance anymore. He is looking at the transaction history. He can see the grocery store upgrade. He can see the parking garage. He can see the gym tier. He can see the streaming service. He can see 6 months of lunches that used to be packed. He can see the social lunches and the happy hours and the golf outing and the round of drinks that was his turn. None of it looks dramatic individually. Together, it is $940 a month of spending that arrived with the raise and never left. And together, it is $1.1 million of future wealth that never got to exist. Here is the number that hits different at the end of this video than it did at the beginning. The average American will earn approximately $2.7 million over their working lifetime. The average American retires with about $255,000 saved. That is a 90% evaporation rate. $2.7 million in, $255,000 out. The other $2.4 million went somewhere, and now you know exactly where it went. It found the level. It paid the raise tax. It matched the room. It upgraded the grocery store. It disappeared 72 cents at a time into a system nobody designed and nobody questioned. Jason opens his bank app. He sets up an automatic transfer of $650 to a brokerage account he opens in 4 minutes at Fidelity. He names it the Gap. The transfer is set for the first of every month the morning his paycheck clears. He sets a calendar reminder for 90 days from now to run the subscription audit. He closes the app. He sits in the driveway for 1 more minute, not because the math is still broken, because for the first time in 6 months, the math has a different shape. He did not get a raise tonight. He redesigned where the raise goes, and that one decision made it 11:51 p.m. in a car, in a driveway, on a Thursday, is worth at 7% over 30 years, approximately $789,000. Not because he did something complicated, because he stopped waiting for the number to be big enough and built a system around the number he already had. If this reframes something real for you, hit the like button and subscribe. Drop your salary range in the comments and I will tell you exactly what your automated gap number should be. I actually read every single one. I will see you in the next one.